Ambassador Alina Vasquez stood alone in the center of the grand chamber. Around her, representatives from 47 different species watched from their elevated seats. The chamber was enormous, built to make anyone standing in the center feel small and powerless. Today, that person was Alina. She was representing Earth, a planet that had only joined the Galactic Council 15 years ago. Humans were still considered newcomers, still learning the complex politics of interstellar civilization. Most species did not take them seriously. The Zithrani ambassador rose from his seat. His name was High Counselor Draven, and he was tall with gray skin and cold black eyes. The Zithrani were one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. Their military was vast, their economy was strong, and they were not used to being challenged. The Zithrani Dominion formally accuses Earth of harboring a war criminal, Draven announced. His voice echoed through the chamber. The human government has given shelter to General Korvax, the monster responsible for the genocide of the Velith species 30 years ago. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Alina kept her face calm, but her heart was beating fast. Draven continued, "We have evidence. Surveillance footage. Official documents. Testimonies from survivors. General Korvax murdered over 2 billion Velith people. He burned their cities. He poisoned their water. He left their world a graveyard. And for 15 years, Earth has protected him." A large screen appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed images of a devastated planet. Cities reduced to ash. Bodies lying in the streets. Children crying over their dead parents. The images were horrifying, and Alina could hear gasps from around the room. "This is what Korvax did," Draven said. "And Earth has given him a comfortable life, while the Velith survivors live in poverty and pain." Alina looked across the chamber to where the Velith delegation sat. There were only 3 of them. The Velith had once been a proud species of billions. Now, fewer than 50,000 remained, scattered across refugee colonies. Their representative, Ambassador Thress, was elderly with pale blue skin and tired eyes. He watched the images on the screen with a grief so deep it seemed to have no bottom. Draven turned to face Alina directly. "The Galactic Council demands that Earth surrender Korvax immediately. He will face justice for his crimes." Alina knew what Zithrani justice meant. There would be no trial. No opportunity to speak. Korvax would be publicly executed within days of being handed over. The Zithrani called it justice, but it was really just vengeance. "I request 72 hours to consult with my government," Alina said. Her voice was steady despite her nerves. "This is a serious accusation, and Earth takes it seriously. We need time to respond properly." Draven smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Of course, Ambassador. Take your time. But remember, the galaxy is watching. Everyone will see whether Earth stands with justice or with murderers." The session ended, and Alina walked out of the chamber. She could feel the eyes of dozens of species on her back. Some looked curious. Some looked amused. They all expected the same thing. They expected Earth to fold under pressure. Humanity was new to galactic politics. They had no powerful allies. Their military was small compared to the Zithrani fleet. The smart move, the political move, would be to hand over Korvax and avoid trouble. As Alina walked through the corridor toward her ship, her communication device buzzed. It was an encrypted message from Earth, directly from President Chen himself. She opened the message and read it twice to make sure she understood. "They are not telling the Council everything. Korvax is not a war criminal. He is a witness. And the Zithrani will kill anyone who knows what really happened on Velith Prime." Lena stopped walking. She read the message a 3rd time. A witness. Not a criminal. Her mind raced with questions. If Korvax was innocent, why had he been hiding for 30 years? What had really happened on Velith Prime? And why were the Zithrani so desperate to silence him? She continued walking, but now her steps had purpose. She needed to get back to Earth. She needed answers. During her journey home, Alina could not stop thinking about the images she had seen in the council chamber. The burning cities, the dead children, the devastated world. Someone had done those terrible things. If it was not Korvax, then who? And more importantly, why had they blamed him? When her ship landed in Geneva, a security team was waiting for her. They escorted her to a black vehicle with no windows. Nobody spoke during the drive. Alina understood. Whatever she was about to learn was too sensitive for normal conversation. The vehicle stopped at a facility she had never seen before. It looked like an ordinary office building from the outside, but inside, the security was intense. Scanners checked her identity 3 times. Armed guards stood at every door. Finally, she was led to a small room. President Chen was waiting for her, along with the Director of Intelligence and 2 military generals. Their faces were grim. "Thank you for coming so quickly," President Chen said. "Please sit down." Alina sat. "Your message said Korvax is a witness, not a criminal. I need to understand what that means." President Chen nodded slowly. "What I am about to tell you is classified at the highest level. Only 7 people on Earth know the full truth. After today, you will be the 8th. He paused, gathering his thoughts. 30 years ago, the Zithrani did not just allow the Valith genocide to happen. They ordered it. The entire massacre was planned and executed by the Zithrani High Command. General Korvax was one of their military leaders, but he refused to participate. He tried to warn the Velith. He tried to stop it. And when he failed, he gathered evidence of the conspiracy. Lena felt cold. The Zithrani committed the genocide. And blamed their own general? Yes, the Velith homeworld had rare minerals that the Zithrani wanted. The Velith refused to give them up. So the Zithrani decided to take everything and leave no witnesses. Korvax was the perfect scapegoat. A general who had publicly disagreed with his leaders, they erased the real evidence and created false evidence against him. And he came to Earth. 15 years ago? Yes. He had been running for years, hiding on remote stations and abandoned colonies. Every species he approached either refused to help or tried to sell him to the Zithrani. Earth was his last hope. We gave him asylum. Lena sat in silence for a long moment. The weight of this knowledge pressed down on her. So now we have a choice, she said finally. We can hand over an innocent man to be murdered, or we can expose the truth and make enemies of one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. President Chen looked at her with steady eyes. That is exactly the choice we face. And we have less than 72 hours to decide what kind of species humanity wants to be. Alina thought about the Velith ambassador Thress, sitting in the council chamber with his ancient grief. He believed Korvax had killed his people. He had spent 30 years hating the wrong person. The truth could change everything. But revealing it could also destroy Earth. I need to speak to Korvax, Alina said. I need to hear his story myself. President Chen nodded. He is waiting for you. The room was small and plain. There was a table, 2 chairs, and nothing else. The walls were gray. The light was soft. It felt like a place designed for difficult conversations. Alina sat in one chair and waited. A few minutes later, the door opened, and 2 guards escorted an elderly alien into the room. Korvax was not what Alina had expected. The images she had seen painted him as a monster, a terrifying military leader capable of burning worlds. But the person in front of her was old and tired. His skin was the same gray as other Zithrani, but it had faded with age. Deep scars crossed his face and arms. His eyes held a sadness that seemed permanent. He sat down slowly, his joints stiff with age. The guards left, and the door closed behind them. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me, Alina finally said. Korvax nodded. His voice was rough, like he had not spoken much in years. President Chen told me you might come. He said Earth needs to understand the truth before making a decision. The Council is demanding we hand you over. The Zithrani say you committed genocide? Korvax closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them again, there was pain there, but also something else, determination. I will tell you everything, he said. For 30 years, I've kept silent because speaking the truth would only get more people killed. But now, it seems silence will no longer protect anyone. He took a deep breath and began. I was a general in the Zithrani military. I believed in my government. I believed we were protectors of peace and order. I was a fool. Alina listened without interrupting. 30 years ago, my commanders called me to a secret meeting. They told me about a plan called Operation Silent Dawn. The Velith homeworld had vast deposits of valorium. It's a mineral essential for advanced technology. The Zythron economy needed it desperately. They had tried to negotiate with the Velith, but the Velith refused to be exploited. They wanted fair prices and fair treatment. Korvax paused. His hands trembled slightly. High Command decided that negotiation was too slow. They created a new plan. They would manufacture a crisis. They would claim the Velith were developing weapons of mass destruction, and then they would invade to neutralize the threat. But the plan went further than invasion. His voice dropped lower. They wanted no witnesses. No one who could tell the truth about what had really happened. They planned to eliminate the entire Velith population and blame it on a biological weapon that the Velith had supposedly developed. They would take the planet, take the valorium, and appear as victims rather than aggressors. Alina felt sick. They planned genocide from the beginning. Yes, and they wanted me to lead it. I was known as a loyal general. My reputation was clean. If I gave the orders, no one would question them. But you refused? Korvax nodded slowly. I told them no. I told them this was madness, a crime against everything we claimed to stand for. They smiled and said, I would change my mind. They gave me 3 days to reconsider. What did you do? I tried to warn the Velith. I secretly contacted their leaders and told them what was coming. I begged them to evacuate, to call for help from other species, to do something. But they did not believe me. Why would a Zithrani general risk everything to warn them? They thought it was a trick. Korvax's voice broke slightly. 3 days later, I was arrested. The High Command had been watching me. They knew about my warnings. They executed the operation anyway, but with a different general in charge. One who was loyal. One who followed orders without question. Elena could barely breathe. And they blamed you. They needed someone to blame. Someone who was already seen as a traitor. They erased all evidence of the real orders. They created false documents with my signature. They found soldiers willing to testify that they had seen me give the commands. By the time the massacre was over, history had been rewritten. I was the monster. The High Command were the heroes who had tried to stop me. How did you escape? Some soldiers still believed in me. They helped me flee before my execution. For 15 years, I ran. I went to species after species, begging for help. Most refused. Some tried to capture me for the reward the Zithrani offered. A few believed me, but said they could not risk war with the Zythrani. His eyes met Elena's. Then I came to Earth. Your people were new to the galaxy. You had no reason to fear the Zithrani. When I told your government my story and showed them my evidence, they did something no one else had done. They believed me. They gave me a home. They let me live in peace. Elena thought about this. Earth had taken an enormous risk by sheltering Korvax. If the Zithrani had discovered it earlier, there could have been war. You said you have evidence. What kind? Korvax reached into his worn clothing and pulled out a small crystal. It was dark blue and seemed to glow faintly from within. This is a data crystal from the High Command archives. I took it before I fled. It contains the original orders for Operation Silent Dawn. It has the signatures of every leader who approved the genocide. Some of those leaders still serve on the Galactic Council today. Alina stared at the crystal. In her hand, Korvax had placed the power to change galactic history. If we reveal this, the Zithrani will be furious. They might attack Earth. Yes, I have thought about this for many years. I never asked Earth to release this information because I knew it would put your people in danger. But now, the Zithrani are forcing your hand. If you hand me over, they will destroy the evidence and kill me. The truth will die forever. If you reveal the evidence, you will have enemies, but you will have justice. Alina sat with the weight of this decision. It was not hers to make alone, but she knew she would have a voice in it. There is someone else who needs to see this, she said quietly. Ambassador Thress, the Velith representative. He has spent 30 years believing you killed his people. He deserves to know the truth. Korvax's expression shifted. Pain and hope mixed together. I've wanted to tell the Velith for so long, but I was afraid they would not believe me. I was afraid it would only bring them more pain. It will bring them pain, Alina admitted. But it will also bring them the truth. And maybe, eventually, it will bring them peace. She stood up and held the data crystal carefully. I need to return to the council. We have less than 48 hours. But I promise you this, General. Whatever Earth decides, we will not make this decision lightly. We understand what you sacrificed to protect the truth. We will honor that sacrifice. Corvax looked at her with eyes that had seen too much pain. I am not afraid of death, he said. I have been ready to die for 30 years. I am only afraid that the truth will die with me. Promise me that whatever happens, you will find a way to tell the Velith what really happened. They deserve to know who their true enemies were. Alina nodded. I promise. She left the room with the crystal in her hand and the weight of 2 billion lost lives on her shoulders. In less than 2 days, Earth would have to decide what kind of species they truly were, and the entire galaxy would be watching. The Galactic Council chamber was more crowded than Alina had ever seen it. Word had spread that Earth would give its response today. Everyone wanted to witness what they expected to be humanity's surrender. Representatives from dozens of species filled the viewing galleries. News drones floated near the ceiling, broadcasting to billions of viewers across the galaxy. Alina stood once again in the center of the chamber. She could feel the pressure of all those watching eyes. But this time, she was not afraid. She was angry. High Counselor Draven rose from his seat with a confident smile. Ambassador Vasquez, the 72 hours have passed. The Galactic Council awaits Earth's decision. Will you surrender the war criminal Corvax to face justice? Alina looked around the chamber slowly before answering. She wanted everyone to see her clearly. Before Earth gives its response, I request the right to present evidence to this council. Evidence that is directly relevant to this matter? Draven's smile flickered. What evidence? The evidence against Corvax is already clear. We have shown the council everything. You have shown the council what you wanted them to see. Earth has additional evidence that the council must consider before any decision is made. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Several representatives leaned forward with interest. This was not what anyone had expected. Draven's voice hardened. This is a delay tactic. Earth is trying to avoid its responsibilities. Earth is exercising its right under council law, Lena replied calmly. Section 7, Article 3 states that any accused party may present evidence in their defense before judgment. Corvax has been accused. He has the right to be heard. The council chairman, a tall being from the Morvellan species, nodded slowly. Ambassador Vasquez is correct. The law supports her request. We will allow Earth to present its evidence at the next session 24 hours from now. Draven looked furious, but he could not argue against the law without losing face. He sat down heavily, his eyes fixed on Elena with barely hidden hostility. As the session ended, Elena noticed something else. The Zithrani fleet had moved closer to Earth's trade routes. It was not close enough to be an act of war, but the message was clear. The Zithrani were willing to use force if necessary. Alina returned to her private quarters on the council station. She had 1 day to prepare, and one critical task to complete. She sent a message to Ambassador Thress, the Velith representative. The message was simple. I have information about what really happened on your homeworld. Please meet with me privately. Your people deserve the truth. For hours, there was no response. Alina began to worry that Thress would refuse. Why would he trust a human who was protecting the man he believed had killed his family? Then, finally, a reply came. I will meet you. But if this is a trick, I will make sure the entire galaxy knows of human dishonor. Alina sent the location in time. She understood his anger. She would feel the same way in his position. The meeting took place in a small room away from the main council areas. When Thress arrived, his expression was hard and cold. He was old, his blue skin wrinkled with age and grief. He walked with a cane, his body weakened by years of suffering. Speak quickly, he said as he sat down. I do not enjoy being in the same room as those who protect monsters. Alina placed a small device on the table between them. Ambassador Thress, what I am about to show you will be painful. It will change everything you believe about your people's tragedy. I am showing you this because you deserve the truth, not because I want to hurt you." Stress said nothing. His eyes were fixed on the device. Alina activated it. A holographic display appeared, showing documents, recordings, and video files. For the next hour, she showed Thress everything. The original orders for Operation Silent Dawn, the signatures of Zythrani leaders, Korvax's attempts to warn the Velith, his arrest, and the cover-up that followed. At first, Thress watched with disbelief, then confusion, then, slowly, painfully understanding. When a recording played showing Korvax begging the High Command to spare the Velith, calling them innocent people who did not deserve to die, Thress began to shake. "This cannot be real," he whispered. "For 30 years I have hated this man. I have dreamed of watching him die for what he did. And now you tell me he tried to save us?" "He did more than try," Alina said gently. "He sacrificed everything. His career, his home, his freedom. He has spent 30 years as a fugitive because he refused to participate in murder." Thress covered his face with his hands. His shoulders trembled. Alina sat in silence, giving him time to process the weight of what he had learned. When he finally looked up, his eyes were wet with tears. "The Zythrani," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "The Zythrani killed my people. They killed my wife, my children, my grandchildren, and they made us hate an innocent man while they sat on the council and smiled at us." "Yes." Thress was silent for a long moment. Then he asked the question Alina had been waiting for. "What does Earth intend to do?" Alina leaned forward. "Earth intends to reveal the truth to the entire galaxy. Not just the Council, but everyone. Every species. Every planet. Every station. We will broadcast this evidence so that it cannot be hidden or destroyed. The Zythrani will retaliate. They have a powerful fleet, we know. But Earth believes that some things are more important than safety. Justice is one of those things. Truth is another." Thress studied her face for a long time. "You are willing to risk war for this? For my people? For an alien who is not even human?" Alina nodded. "Korvax trusted Earth with his life. He trusted us with the truth. If we betray that trust, if we hand him over to be murdered, then what are we? What is the point of being among the stars if we become as corrupt as those who have been here longer?" For the first time, something like hope flickered in Thress's ancient eyes. "Your species is young," he said slowly. "Many in the galaxy think humans are weak, easy to push around, easy to frighten. They are about to learn differently." Thress reached out and placed his hand on the table, palm up. It was a Velith gesture of alliance. "If Earth stands against the Zythrani, the Velith will stand with you. We have little power. We have few ships. But we have our voice, and we have our honor. Let the galaxy see that humans are not alone." Alina placed her hand on his. "Thank you, Ambassador." Thress's expression hardened with determination. "No, thank you. For 30 years, my people have lived with a lie. Tomorrow, we will finally have the truth. And the Zythrani will learn what it means to face those they have wronged." As Alina left the meeting, she felt the weight of what was coming. Tomorrow, Earth would challenge one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. They would expose decades of lies and corruption. They would make enemies who would not forget, but they would also do something that the galaxy had rarely seen. They would stand for justice, regardless of the cost. They would protect the innocent, even when it was dangerous. And they would show every species watching exactly what it meant to be human. The countdown had begun. In less than 24 hours, everything would change. The Grand Chamber had never been so silent. Every seat was filled. Every viewing gallery was packed. News drones from 100 different species floated overhead, broadcasting to trillions of viewers across the galaxy. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. High Counselor Draven sat in his elevated seat with the same confident smile he had worn throughout these proceedings. Behind him, 12 other Zythrani representatives watched with cold satisfaction. They had already won, or so they believed. Earth was young and weak. Earth would surrender Korvax to save themselves. Alina Vasquez stood in the center of the chamber. She wore a simple, dark uniform with Earth's emblem on her shoulder. She carried no weapons, no documents, nothing but a small data crystal in her pocket. Ambassador Vasquez, the council chairman, announced, "You may present your evidence." Draven laughed softly. "Let her speak. Let the galaxy see what desperate lies humans will tell to protect a murderer." Alina did not respond to him. Instead, she looked around the chamber slowly, making eye contact with as many representatives as she could. "What I am about to show you will be difficult to watch," she began. "It will challenge everything you believe about recent galactic history. But it is the truth. And the truth, no matter how painful, must be heard." She placed the data crystal into the central projection system. The lights in the chamber dimmed. 30 years ago, the Velith species was nearly destroyed. Over 2 billion people died. The official story, the one we have all been told, is that a rogue Zithrani general named Korvax ordered this genocide against his government's wishes, that he acted alone, that the Zithrani leadership tried to stop him but failed. She paused. That story is a lie. The chamber erupted in murmurs. Draven rose to his feet. "This is outrageous." "I demand you will have your chance to respond," the chairman interrupted. "Ambassador Vasquez has the floor." "Continue." Lena activated the projection. A document appeared in the air above her, massive enough for everyone in the chamber to read clearly. "This is Operation Silent Dawn, a classified military operation approved by the Zithrani High Command 30 years ago. Its objective was the complete elimination of the Velith population in order to seize their planet's Valorium deposits." She scrolled through the document, showing detailed invasion plans, population elimination strategies, and most importantly, the signatures at the bottom. These signatures belonged to the highest leaders of the Zithrani government at the time. 3 of those leaders still serve on this council today. The chamber exploded with noise. Representatives shouted. Some demanded proof. Others called for order. The Zithrani delegation was on their feet, screaming that the documents were forgeries. Alina waited for the noise to die down, then continued. General Korvax was ordered to lead this operation. He refused. He told his commanders that he would not participate in genocide. And when they ignored him, he tried to warn the Velith. She played a recording. Korvax's voice, 30 years younger, but unmistakably his, pleading with the Velith leadership. "You must evacuate. They are coming. They will kill everyone. Please, believe me." And another recording. Korvax facing the Zithrani High Command. "I will not give this order. These are innocent people. What you are planning is murder on a scale the galaxy has never seen." A cold voice responded. "You will change your mind, General. You have 3 days." Lena looked directly at Draven. When Korvax refused, he was arrested. A more loyal general was given command. The genocide proceeded as planned, and afterward, the Zithrani created false evidence to blame everything on Korvax. They erased the real orders. They fabricated testimonies. They turned an innocent man into history's greatest villain. Draven's face had gone pale with rage. "These are lies. Forgeries created by human technology. You cannot trust the data crystal's authentication can be verified by any neutral species," Alina interrupted. "The encryption signatures prove it came from Zithrani military archives. The chain of evidence is unbroken. But there is one more thing." She turned to where the Velith delegation sat. Ambassador Thress slowly rose to his feet. "I have reviewed this evidence personally," Thress announced. His voice shook with emotion, but he spoke clearly. "I have spent 30 years hating General Korvax for killing my family. I have dreamed of his death. And now I know the truth. Korvax tried to save my people. The Zithrani leadership ordered their deaths." He pointed a trembling finger at Draven. "You killed my wife. You killed my children. You killed 2 billion innocent people because you wanted what was ours. And then you made us blame the one person who tried to protect us?" The chamber fell silent. The weight of Thress's words hung in the air like a storm about to break. Alina spoke again. Earth's response to the Council's demand is as follows. We will not surrender Korvax. We will not hand over an innocent man to be murdered by those who committed the very crimes he is accused of. Furthermore, Earth is transmitting this evidence to every species in the galaxy right now. Not just the Council, but every planet, every station, every vessel. The truth cannot be hidden anymore. Draven finally found his voice. You will pay for this. The Zithrani fleet is already positioned near your space. If you do not surrender Korvax immediately, we will consider this an act of war. Alina met his gaze without flinching. If you want war, you will have it. But look around you, Counselor. Look at who is standing with you. Draven looked. The chamber had shifted. Representatives were moving, standing, making their positions clear. Ambassador Thress walked down from the Velith section and stood beside Alina, then the Cathari representative. A small being covered in silver fur stood and joined them, then the Morvellans, then the Dranathi, one by one. Representatives from smaller species that had been bullied and threatened by the Zithrani for centuries, left their seats and stood with Earth. Within minutes, nearly a third of the Council had aligned themselves with humanity. Earth does not stand alone, Alina said. And if the Zithrani attack us, they attack all of us. Draven looked at his fellow Zithrani representatives. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across his face. They had expected to frighten Earth into submission. They had not expected a coalition to form before their eyes. This is not over, Draven hissed. You have made powerful enemies today, human. Alina stepped closer to him, close enough that only he could hear her next words. But she spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear anyway. We did not make enemies today, Counselor. We exposed them. For 30 years, the Zithrani have hidden behind lies. For 30 years, you have let an innocent man take the blame for your crimes. That ends now. She turned to address the entire chamber. Earth believes in justice. Real justice. Not the kind that is bought or threatened or manufactured. We believe that truth matters more than politics. We believe that protecting the innocent is more important than protecting ourselves. And we believe that the galaxy deserves better than the corruption that has ruled it for too long. She held up the data crystal. This evidence is now public. Every species can examine it. Every citizen can see the truth. The Zithrani can threaten us. They can send their fleet. They can call us enemies. But they cannot change what the galaxy now knows. The chamber erupted in chaos. Some representatives shouted in anger. Others applauded. The Zithrani delegation stormed out, their faces twisted with fury. But as Alina stood in the center of the chamber, surrounded by allies she had not expected, she felt something she had not felt since this crisis began. Hope the truth was out. The galaxy was watching. And for the first time in 30 years, justice had a chance. 3 months had passed since Alina Vasquez stood in the Grand Chamber and revealed the truth about the Velith genocide. In that time, the galaxy had transformed in ways no one had predicted. The evidence that Earth broadcasts could not be ignored. Independent experts from dozens of species verified the authenticity of the data crystal. The signatures were real. The orders were real. The cover-up was real. The Zithrani leadership had murdered 2 billion innocent people and blamed it on the one person who had tried to stop them at first. The Zithrani government denied everything. They called the evidence fake. They threatened any species that supported Earth. They moved their fleet into aggressive positions near human space. But the truth had spread too, far to be contained. Protests erupted on Zithrani worlds. Citizens who had believed the official story for 30 years now demanded answers. Soldiers who had followed orders without question began to ask what else their leaders had lied about. The Zizarani government tried to suppress the unrest, but it only made things worse. Within 2 months, the leaders who had signed the genocide orders were removed from power. Some were arrested by their own people. Others fled into hiding. A new government took control. One that understood that the old ways could not continue. On a cold morning on Earth, Alina received a message. The new Zithrani government was sending a delegation to the Galactic Council. They wanted to formally apologize to the Velith survivors and begin the process of making amends. They also wanted to meet with Earth's representatives to discuss a new relationship between their species. But before Alina could return to the council, she had one more visit to make. The colony world of New Velith was small and struggling. The survivors of the genocide had built a new home here. But resources were limited, and the population was tiny compared to what it had once been. When Elena's ship landed, she found a modest spaceport surrounded by simple buildings and carefully tended gardens. Ambassador Thress met her at the landing pad. He looked different than he had 3 months ago. There was still grief in his eyes, but also something new. Purpose. Ambassador Vasquez, he said, clasping her hand in the Velith way. Welcome to New Velith. We are honored by your visit. The honor is mine, Alina replied. How are your people? Thress smiled sadly. We are healing. It is slow. The wounds are deep. But for the first time in 30 years, we are healing with truth instead of lies. That makes all the difference. He led her through the colony toward a gathering hall at its center. As they walked, Velith citizens watched them pass. Some nodded respectfully. A few reached out to touch Elena's hand in gratitude. Children who had been born after the genocide stared at her with curious eyes. Today's a special day, Thress explained. Corvax has asked to speak to our people, to tell his story publicly here, in front of the survivors and their descendants. We have agreed. Lena felt her heart tighten. This would be an incredibly difficult moment for everyone involved. The gathering hall was filled with Velith of all ages. They sat in quiet rows, their faces showing a mixture of emotions: confusion, hope, lingering anger, anticipation. At the front of the hall, General Korvax stood alone. He was dressed simply, with no military insignia or decoration. Just an old man who had carried the weight of a terrible secret for 3 decades. When the hall fell silent, he began to speak. I have thought about this moment for 30 years, he said. His voice was steady, but Alina could hear the emotion beneath it. I have imagined what I would say if I ever had the chance to face you. And now that the moment is here, I find that no words are enough. He looked out at the survivors, meeting their eyes one by one. I tried to save your people. I failed. I warned your leaders, but they did not believe me. I begged my commanders to stop, but they would not listen. I was too slow, too weak, too powerless to prevent what happened. His voice cracked. For 30 years I have lived with that failure. Every night I dream of your cities burning. Every morning I wake up knowing that 2 billion people died while I could do nothing to stop it. I do not ask for your forgiveness. I do not deserve it. I only ask that you know the truth. I would have given my life to save even one of your children. The hall was completely silent. Alina saw tears on many faces, both Velith and the few other species who had come to witness. An elderly Velith woman rose slowly from her seat. She walked to the front of the hall and stood before Korvax. For a long moment, she simply looked at him. My daughter died in the massacre, she said. My grandchildren died. For 30 years, I believed you killed them. I spent 30 years hating you. Korvax bowed his head. I am sorry. The woman reached out and lifted his chin so he would look at her. You tried to save them? You sacrificed everything to warn us. You have suffered for 30 years because you refused to be a monster. Her voice trembled. I forgive you, General, and I thank you for trying. That is more than anyone else did. She embraced him. Korvax stood frozen for a moment. Then his arms came up and he held her as tears streamed down his face. One by one, other Velith rose and approached. Some simply touched his shoulder. Others spoke words of forgiveness. A few still carried anger and left without speaking, but most came forward. Most understood that this man had been a victim too. Alina watched from the side of the hall, her own eyes wet. Beside her, Thress spoke quietly. This is what truth makes possible. Not just punishment for the guilty, healing for the innocent. After the ceremony, Alina met privately with Korvax in a small garden outside the hall. He looked exhausted but also lighter, as if a burden he had carried for decades had finally been lifted. "Thank you," he said, "for believing me, for fighting for me, for giving me the chance to speak to them. You gave us the evidence. You trusted us with the truth. We just did what was right." Korvac shook his head slowly. "No, many species would have calculated the politics. They would have weighed the risks and decided that one old alien was not worth angering the Zithrani. You calculated differently. You calculated morality instead of strategy." He looked at her with genuine wonder. Why? Why would humanity risk everything for someone who was not even human? Alina thought about the question. She thought about everything Earth had sacrificed and risked. She thought about the coalition that had formed in the council chamber. She thought about the new relationships being built across the galaxy. "Because if we only protect our own, we do not deserve to be among the stars," she finally said. "Humanity's strength is not our technology or our military. It is that we choose to care, even when it costs us, even when it is dangerous. We believe that is what makes a species worthy of the galaxy." Korvac smiled. It was the first genuine smile Alina had seen from him. "Then the galaxy is lucky to have you." 1 week later, Alina stood in the Grand Chamber again. The Zithrani seats were occupied by new representatives, reform leaders who had risen after the revolution. The session began with something unprecedented. The new Zithrani ambassador stood and faced the Velith delegation. "On behalf of the Zithrani people, I offer our deepest apologies for the crimes committed against your species. No words can undo what was done. No payment can restore what was lost. But we acknowledge our guilt. We accept our responsibility. And we pledge to spend generations making amends, if you will allow us." Ambassador Thress rose and accepted the apology with dignity and grace. It was the first step on a long road, but it was a step that had seemed impossible just 3 months ago. After the session, a young ambassador from a species Alina did not recognize approached her. "Ambassador Vasquez," she said, "I am new to the council. My people have heard stories about what Earth did, but we did not believe them. We did not think any species would risk so much for truth and justice." She studied Elena's face with curious eyes. "Will you always be this way? This ruthless about doing what is right?" Alina smiled. "We're human. It is what we do." The young ambassador nodded slowly, something like admiration in her expression. "Then I hope we can learn from you." As Alina walked out of the chamber, she thought about the future. Earth had made enemies. The fallen Zithrani leaders and their supporters would never forgive what had happened. The galaxy was still dangerous, still full of species that valued power over justice. But Earth had also made friends. The coalition that had formed in that chamber was growing stronger every day. Species that had been rivals were now allies, united by a shared belief that truth and justice mattered, and across the galaxy. Beings who had never heard of Earth before now knew the story of the humans, who had stood against one of the most powerful species in existence to protect an innocent man. Humanity was young among the stars. They had much to learn, but they had also taught the galaxy something important.